Welcome back to the Weekly Education Pulse. I'm Sammy.
And I'm Tony. Each week we break down the key developments shaping the international and independent schools sector.
Yeah, this week 5 stories that take us from the Highlands of Scotland to the public schools of Indiana and several places in between.
For us all 5, the question that keeps resurfacing in different forms: what does quality actually mean, and who gets to decide?
So let's get into it then.
And we begin in Perthshire, Scotland, where Ardvreck School has announced it is joining Sedbergh Schools Group, becoming the first Scottish prep school to do so.
Yeah, Ardvreck was founded in 1883 and is set in the heart of Perthshire. It has long established reputation as one of the UK's leading prep schools, recently described by Tatler as the best prep school in the land. And the school is known for its adventurous spirit, warm community atmosphere, and record of preparing children for entry into the country's leading senior schools.
What's worth noting here is the existing relationship between the two schools. Sedbergh's Chair of Governors explicitly mentions that Sedbergh has been welcoming Ardvreck pupils to its full boarding community for many years, and that the number of Scottish families choosing Sedbergh has been growing. So this is not a partnership being forged between strangers. It's very much that strong affinity built on shared values and well-established feeder relationship.
Yeah, this follows the announcement earlier this year that Terrington Hall near York was also joining the group. The Sedbergh Schools Group now brings together Sedbergh School itself, founded in 1525, Sedbergh Prep in Casterton, Terrington Hall, Ardvreck, and its international school partnerships in Vietnam and China.
It is a charitable group, and there are no external investors seeking financial return. So the model is built around long-term sustainability, shared resource, and the preservation of each school's individual identity.
Yeah, and that last point is emphasised through the Ardvreck announcement. Ardvreck will retain its name, its traditions, its ethos, and its distinctive approach to childhood. The Chair of Governors at Ardvreck put it simply: the partnership allows Ardvreck to remain proudly Ardvreck.
That phrase, remain proudly itself, it is becoming something of a hallmark of how well-positioned schools approach group membership. The ones that join from strength, with clarity about who they are, tend to be the ones who manage to maintain their identity through that transition.
And we're going from the Highlands of Scotland to Dubai, where we're going to be sharing that the KHDA, the Knowledge and Human Development Authority in Dubai, has announced that private schools across the Emirate will receive formal quality assurance visits from the 2026-2027 academic year with no more than 24 hours notice before a team arrives.
And this is significant because the KHDA announced last year that no inspections would take place during the 25-26 academic year. That pause was described as an opportunity for greater collaboration and reflection on how quality is defined and supported in Dubai schools. The resumption signals that the period of reflection has translated into a renewed framework.
Yeah, the new approach introduces 2 distinct types of visits. The first is a full quality assurance inspection conducted by a team of specialist experts, leading to a comprehensive published report and an overall school rating. The second is a shorter monitoring visit by a smaller team focusing on specific areas identified through data analysis, producing a concise report with strengths and recommendations, but no new overall rating.
Every eligible private school will receive one of these 2 types of inspection, determined by a data-driven methodology that draws on school profiles, achievement data, self-evaluation submissions, and analysis by education specialists.
Yeah, the rationale for short notice is directly stated by the KHDA. The authority says that visits with little advance notice ensure that what inspectors see reflects the everyday reality of school life, rather than a period of intensive preparation. The aim is that feedback is grounded on authentic evidence.
That reasoning will be familiar with school leaders who have experienced inspection regimes in the UK, where Ofsted's approach shifted in a similar direction. The underlying question is always the same: is the school you see during an inspection the school families actually experience every day? Short notice is one attempt to close that gap.
Yeah, and the CEO of KHDA's Education Quality Assurance and Compliance Agency describes the differentiated approach as recognising that schools are at different stages of their improvement journey. And she's clear that the resumption is intended to strengthen parental confidence and support schools' own improvement work, not simply to grade them.
So with so many new schools opening in Dubai in this next year, as we have covered in recent episodes, the return to a restructured quality assurance framework has a particular significance. Growth is happening quickly in this market. The infrastructure to evaluate that growth matters too. Our third story this week takes us to Cambridge, where two of the city's most established independent schools have announced they will merge to form a single all-through school from September 2026.
Yeah, the Leys School and St Faith School have been part of the same foundation since 1938. So this is not two independent institutions coming together for the first time. It is two schools that have shared governance, values, and a school motto for nearly 90 years, taking the next logical step.
Under the plan, pupils from early years through to year 8 will be educated at the current St Faith site in central Cambridge. Years 9 to 13 will be based at the Leys site, a 50-acre campus just a short distance away. The merged school will be called the Leys School Cambridge.
Yeah, the Leys was founded in 1875 by Methodists and celebrated its 150th anniversary last year. It currently has 565 pupils, and St Faith's was established in 1884 and is the largest preparatory school in Cambridge with 541 pupils. So combined, the new school will be a significant institution in a city that is already one of the most educationally rich in the UK.
Chair of the Foundation's governing body, Sir Matthew Rycroft, explains the practical logic clearly. The Leys has more demand for senior school places than it can currently meet. The merger frees capacity at the Leys site for years 9 to 13 by moving years 7 and 8 to the St Faith site. That is a structural solution to a genuine demand problem.
But there's also a broader educational rationale. Creating an all-through school from early years to sixth form means a more coherent curriculum journey, better alignment of teaching approaches across phases, and a simpler admissions process for families.
What's striking about this announcement is how considered it is. A 2-year planning timeline before the 2028 implementation gives families, staff, and both school communities time to adapt. There are no immediate changes for current pupils at either school.
And from the outside, this looks like the kind of structural decision that a well-governed, financially stable foundation makes when it's thinking in decades rather than years. So the Leys and St Faiths are not merging because they have to. They're merging because the combined institution can deliver something better for families than either school can deliver alone.
Our fourth story this week takes us to Myanmar, where the Ministry of Education has announced that 252 private schools teaching international curricula have been granted official permission to operate, covering activity from the 2024-25 academic year and the 25-26 academic year.
The breakdown gives a clear picture of where international private education is concentrated in the country. Of the 252 schools approved, 161 are in the Yangon region, though the ministry notes that some operators run multiple branches under the same name. So the actual number of distinct institutions is estimated at just over 130. A further 49 are in Mandalay, 6 in Nay Pyi Taw, and the remainder spread across regions including Kachin State, Shan State, Sagaing, and Magway.
The regulatory context is worth understanding. Myanmar enacted a new private education law in May 2023, which required all private schools, including those established before the law's introduction, to register with the regional supervisory boards. The 252 approved schools represent those that have had completed that process for the international curriculum provisions specifically.
From a market perspective, this is a significant data point. 252 approved international curriculum schools across a country of 54 million people represents a sector that is considerably larger than most external observers might have assumed.
Myanmar has a complex and difficult recent history, and international education sector that operates in a context that is quite different from the growth markets we more often cover on this podcast. So what the data tells us here is that the demand for internationally recognized education exists. It's spreading beyond the major cities and is now being formally mapped by the authorities.
Yeah, whether that formal mapping leads to stronger quality assurance, broader access, or simply clearer regulatory picture, or some combination of all three of those, remains to be seen. But for operators, investors, and organizations tracking the sector globally, the formalisation of this market is a development worth noting.
Our final story this week takes us to the United States, specifically to Indiana, where the state's Department of Education has opened a second round of grant funding to help more schools offer courses from Cambridge International Education.
Yeah, Cambridge International Education, the not-for-profit arm of the University of Cambridge, offers curricula used in international and independent schools across 160 different countries. For many in our audience, Cambridge qualifications are associated with premium international schools, British curriculum institutions, or elite private education. And the Indiana story is interesting precisely because it challenges that association.
Indiana is using Cambridge courses as part of a broader push to expand rigorous academic pathways in public high schools. The state has earmarked up to $500,000 in grant funding to support schools implementing Cambridge programs, with an emphasis on math, science, and critical thinking. Schools can apply for funding to cover teacher training and program fees, and the state offers $2,495 bonus for every public school student who earns what Indiana calls an honors enrollment seal.
Yeah, that seal, which can be earned through the Cambridge AICE diploma, among other pathways including the IB and advanced placement, guarantees automatic admission to any of Indiana's public universities, including Indiana University, Purdue, and Ball State.
First round of funding awarded grants up to 6 schools in February, introducing Cambridge courses including thinking skills, computer science, biology, and chemistry. The second round is expected to bring up to 60 more schools into the programme.
Yeah, what makes this worth paying attention to is the specific context in which some schools are adopting Cambridge. So Whiteland High School, for example, one of the early participants, is partly using Cambridge to serve a growing population of non-English speaking students. The structured, rigorous framework Cambridge provides is seen as an asset for students who need both academic challenge and a clear, internationally recognized pathway, regardless of their background.
And that is a long way from the assumption that Cambridge qualifications are primarily for families who have the means to choose a private international education. It is also consistent with something we've seen in other markets, South Korea, in Mumbai, in Indiana, where internationally recognised curricula are finding their way into publicly funded systems as tools for expanding access and raising standards.
And the curriculum itself does not change based on who delivers it. The question is always whether the support structures around it, being teacher training, resourcing, institutional commitment, are in place to make it work for students in front of it. So in Indiana, the grant funding is explicitly designed to address that. So whether the model takes hold will be worth watching.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode.
Yeah, Scotland, Dubai, Cambridge, Myanmar, and Indiana. 5 very different contexts, 5 very different kinds of development.
But in each of them, someone is making a decision about what quality looks like and how to protect or extend it. A charitable school group deciding that 2 prep schools belong together, a regulator re-establishing its framework after a period of reflection, a foundation merging 2 schools into something more coherent, a country mapping its international school sector for the first time, and a state government deciding that a curriculum developed for international schools should be available in its public high schools too.
Yeah, the sector keeps moving, and the most interesting stories are often the ones that cross the boundaries we assume are fixed.
If there's a development in your region that we should be covering, do get in touch.
And we'll be back again next week. So until then, see you next time.